tribute to his driving abilities.
Plus, you could see that Paul Tracy locked his wheels up trying to slow down.
Nigel Mansell in fourth with Adrian Fernandez just behind him. Adrian stayed with him. Now he's looking to pass him.
Mansell's obviously having problems today.
Nonetheless, it's part of a young driver's experience to battle with the greats and to realize that you can link your name with theirs. You can say, hey, I raced Nigel Mansell. That's what's happening now.
Mansell's gone too slow on the turns, Sam. Adrian Fernandez running too fast. There's not that much difference. So Mansell has got some sort of a problem.
Yeah, he does.
This, though, is a fight for position with Michael Andretti closing down on them. 5th, 6th, and 7th. You're on board the 7th place car. Michael.
You can see Fernandez right ahead there with the red rear wing, and Mansell struggling with his car ahead.
Well, he's struggling in the turns. He's getting down the straightaways pretty quick, as you can see, but having a terrible time in the turns, and it seems to be more of the slower turns as opposed to the fast ones.
Michael Andretti now closing on Fernandez, a battle for 6th place. Indications are that the officials have now decided that they will give a stop-and-go penalty to the leader of the race, Paul Tracy, and also to Mario Andretti. So that coming down the lines from the officials in race control. Michael just got in contact there. Boy, look at Michael lose it all the way. There's that black flag ordering Paul Tracy to come into the pits for a stop-and-go penalty. He has 3.8 seconds on the 2nd place car of Al Unser Jr., so when he comes in, he will lose the lead. What do you think, Bobby?
Yes, I think 1st place, I think it's wrong, but by the same token, it's really going to hurt Paul an awful lot. If the officials see it that way, it was a marginal thing at the best. So if it happens that way, he'll just be screaming like heck when the race is over.
What a difference a year makes. Last year, Paul Tracy won 5 races and Al Unser Jr. only 1. This year, Al Unser has won 5 and Paul Tracy only 1.
Well, Paul Tracy, and what I think, Bobby, you viewed as he did everything he could to slow down and keep from passing Robbie. Now they're waiting for him to come into the pits answering the black flag, Gary Gerould. Gary?
Paul, they've laid out for him. Emerson Fittipaldi just completed his stop in 14.6 seconds. They made no changes to the setup on the race car. But Tracy, they're going to service him, and I'm wondering, can you do this on a stop and go? Can this serve as a full pit stop?
Now, you remember that was the controversy a year ago in Australia. Nigel Mansell did it, Gary.
Yeah, well, here's Tracy now, and they are giving him the service.
Oh, you watch the smoke off his brakes, Gary.
Now, will they hold him or will they make him send him out and bring him back? That's what I'm wondering right now. Clive Howell is up on the wall talking on the radio to Tracy as they wait for the fueling to be complete. Now he's rolling. Boy, did he smoke with tires getting out of there. Let's go to Jack.
Gary, we checked with Billy Camphausen as we await Robbie Gordon's pit stop. Now, here's what Unser has a choice to do. I mean, Tracy, he must take his service, but now he has 3 laps to come back in and take his stop and go. This is from IndyCar official Billy Camphausen.
And Jack Arute, Michael Andretti now comes in to make his stop.
And we'll wait and see if Michael has the same problem with the rear jack that he had the last time. It took a long time for the air to come out. It seems to be a nominal stop right now, cleaning off the front radiators, taking on a full load of fuel. We'll watch the onboard jacks to see if they operate correctly this time. They do. And he's away.
Well, if you wanted to watch the onboard jacks at the rear of the car, that camera was well placed.
What a camera.
So Michael Andretti in and out from 6th position.
You see what they're doing? They're taking their tear-offs off their visors when they leave the pit.
Here's the leader in. Gary Gerould's there.
There's little Al tearing his off.
In the very first pit box, he ducks in very tightly, and then he'll go up the road. He, of course, cannot exceed that 80-mile-per-hour speed limit. They changed the engine on this car after the morning warm-up session. There was a telltale warning sign. He's away in under 15 seconds.
Little Al on the roll. Fittipaldi, you see, coming in behind him. Here comes Robbie Gordon screaming out as well. Any time now, Paul Tracy is going to have to react to that black flag.
Now remember, Robbie Gordon comes down 1 lap behind little Al. That's the reason he was trying so hard a while ago not to get lapped. But when they leave the pits, for example, little Al right there as we saw, it won't go over like 80 miles an hour because they have the onboard computers on the car set where the engine won't run any faster than that. That's modern science coming at us again.
So Paul Tracy, at the same time that Little Al comes in, acknowledges the black flag. He is in and out. He's taken the penalty. But Al Unser Jr. takes the advantage by a full 10 seconds over Tracy and picks up the lead of the race. Very costly decision by the officials.
That's the problem. Stop-and-go penalties don't sound too bad, but when you're on a road course where you hardly ever have a yellow all the way around, stop-and-go penalty can be a very disaster thing.
So Al Unser Jr., with 24 laps to go, is now the leader of the race. The great battle for the lead has been broken up by that penalty, and Robbie Gordon continues to be the most spectacular driver on the race course in the Miller Genuine Draft 200. We'll be back.
The Miller Genuine Draft 200, brought to you by Goodyear, #1 in tires. Target, where you can expect more and pay less. Armor All, the only protectant with Dust Dad X. It keeps your dash looking clean. And Split Fire, the patented performance spark plug.
We're back at the Mid-Ohio Sports Car Course. Tomorrow night, ABC Sports brings you a matchup so big even Texas couldn't hold it. From Mexico City, the two-time defending Super Bowl champion Dallas Cowboys take on the Houston Oilers. 62 laps complete. Al Unser Jr. leads the race by 8.5 seconds over the man that dominated the early part until a penalty, and that was Paul Tracy. The third Penske car, Emerson Fittipaldi, is in third place at the moment. The controversy, though, that stems around a penalty assessment because of this situation. Now, there's a yellow flag standing way down the race course. Robbie Gordon gets offline because he's slowing behind Dominic Dobson's car. Paul Tracy locks the brakes, gets alongside, but his momentum is carrying him on. And Robbie Gordon drops back a position. As a result, actually is lapped at that point. As a result, they assessed a black flag penalty on Paul Tracy and brought him in for a stop and go. So there is some question here. Let's go to Jack Arute, who maybe can add to it.
Well, Paul, this has been ongoing for almost 18 months now. The question is, when you see the yellow flag at a station, should a driver then slow down? The rule reads that you are supposed to hold your position and not overtake any other cars. Now, you guys were trying to determine whether maybe it was Tracy's momentum that carried him by. Well, that was brought up in a previous drivers' meeting. And the answer was, if that should happen, let the guy back around. No harm, no foul. That's not what occurred this time. That is why Tracy was brought in. According to Billy Camphausen, lately they've been pushing the outside of the envelope in the rule, so they had to come in and slap someone's hand. Let's check in with Gary Jarrett.
Well, Jack, they have monitors, of course, along pit road, and members of the Penske team. Now, we're in Al Unser Jr.'s pit at the moment. Richard Buck, his crew chief, he took a look at it on the monitor, and he says, boy, that's a real close, tough call. Roger Penske elected not to look at the replay. He was inclined in some other business, and he said, talk to Richard. So we talked to Richard, and he just says, that's a tough call. Keep in mind, his guy, Al Unser Jr., however, is now in the lead.
And, of course, when Paul Tracy went into that corner, Al Unser Jr. was right on his rear wing, pushing him as hard as he can, Bobby.
But, you know, on Tracy's behalf, you have to look at it this way also. Let's take an extreme expanded case on that. That it comes around and he spins out and makes a complete U-turn and goes back around. Is he still supposed to let him by later on? I just disagree with that call.
All right, we have a full course yellow now. Claude Bourbonnais is off the edge of the course, and they can't get him started without putting that vehicle on the course. So now, for the first time today, yellow flags fly all around, and the PPG pace car will come out in front of Al Unser.
This Ford Fact is brought to you by Ford and your Ford dealer. Have you driven a Ford lately? On a road circuit where we have high-speed and low-speed corners, the teams want to run very soft springs to allow the car to lean from side to side and pick up grip in those slow corners. Those soft springs, however, cause a problem. As the car goes faster, the aerodynamic downforce compresses these springs, and then the car drags on the circuit. The way around that in the past has been to use a bump rubber. You put one of these on each shock absorber shaft, so now instead of dragging on the bottom of the car and on the circuit, it now just hits these bump rubbers. If you put one on each side, There's another problem. Now the car has no way of leaning from side to side in the turns, and you lose grip. Many teams feel the Penske team has found a way around that. If we follow this shock absorber down to the anti-roll bar, what they have reportedly done is put a bracket here, then put a swivel in the middle, and actually used a bump rubber that keeps the car from hitting the ground, but allows it to lean from side to side. So important is this that the Newman-Haas team had the same thing in Toronto, but they used a spring instead of a bump rubber. Many other teams are trying their own systems that will be out soon.
Tonight on ABC, the laughs are on you with America's Funniest Hour. Then Dean Stockwell guest stars on Lois and Clark, The New Adventures of Superman. Then it's Slime Time. Bill Murray, Sigourney Weaver, and Dan Aykroyd star in Ghostbusters 2, all tonight on ABC. This week, the United States Auto Club, who sanctions the Indianapolis 500, announced a second reduction in turbo boost to the pushrod purpose-built engines like the Mercedes-Benz that led 193 laps in winning this year's 500. On June 13th, the boost for those engines was reduced from 55 to 52 inches. Ilmor, the company that built the Mercedes-Benz, then began building engines for the 1995 Indy 500 for Penske Racing and for other Ilmor customers. Last week, USAC further reduced the boost to 48 inches. According to Paul Ray of Ilmor, 30 blocks and crankshafts had been machined that are now worthless, a loss in excess of $1 million. I talked with Roger Penske, a partner in Ilmor, who called the action politically motivated and said nothing at all had changed since June. Penske said that no engineering data was collected on the Mercedes-Benz and added what assurances does any engine builder now have that they won't change the rules again. That change, by the way, also impacts Greenfield and Menard engines. Mike Devin of USAC had said that the boost on any engine could be changed at any time. Honda said that they hope that engineering data would be used to make such decisions, and then the rules stay in place. Peter Spence of Ford Cosworth said the Mercedes-Benz engine took advantage of a rule, and they would prefer everyone were on even ground. IndyCar does not permit that purpose-built pushrod engine and therefore had no position on the change at all. Roger Penske said he will now consider racing at Indy next year using the existing stock block rules. The Speedway and USAC also announced that only one engine will be allowed for the Indy 500 for 1996 and beyond, a 4-cam turbocharged racing engine of 2.2 liters. Now that's the same design as is currently used in the Ford Cosworth, the Honda, and Ilmor, except that new engine would be about half a liter smaller. All the manufacturers and IndyCar welcomed that idea, assuming that there are no sudden changes to that rule. USAC said the rule will remain unchanged through the year 2000.